Hi, we're here at the Drury Plaza Broadview Hotel on the river, and we really appreciate them letting us use their room today for this third installment of the RSCK EdTV. And here with me today are Carolyn Scarritt with Keller Williams Signature Partners and John Quincy with Berkshire Hathaway PenFed West. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Today we are going to talk about business etiquette, something that's near and dear to all our hearts. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions and we'll just share, and you can tell me what you think about these, and we'll hopefully be able to impart a little bit of knowledge and wisdom to the membership. So we'll just jump right in. My first question is about showings. A lot of these are actually about showings. So we're going to talk about the importance of scheduling showings with as much notice as possible. I'd like for each of you to tell me kind of your approach to that and why you think it's important.
Well, I think scheduling as much notice as possible really helps the sellers prepare the house so it looks its best, helps the house show best, and give them as much notice as possible. Scheduling showings really depends on your clients, I think, and how long they need to see a property. Some people can walk in the front door and they know yes or no. Some people need 30 or 45 minutes to walk around. So, judging it on your clients and the property and the distance between houses, it can be tricky, but it's important.
I agree. It can be tricky.
Well, I think it's very important. I think it has to be a win-win situation for both sides. And I think a seller needs as much time as possible. I can't imagine their wild mornings getting ready, getting the kids out the door to school, the husband off to work, maybe them off to work, dishes in the dishwasher, bathrooms picked up, and they're leaving their house for the day. I just think that's really important, that they have as much notice as possible. And I know in today's market, as quick as it is, I had one client last week had 14 showings. How do you ever know that's going to happen ahead of time? And so I just think it's just the golden rule: do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Right, right. The challenge that I sometimes have is that when you're planning, you can't plan for those times when they want to stay in the house for an hour. They love it. And then everything else that you've scheduled is late, and so it's very difficult. It's a moving target. But I agree, as much notice as possible. It's just, it's good and it's helpful, and you hope that your sellers are doing all those things in the morning before they leave the house, right?
Never fails if you do tell your seller that, as soon as you put it on the market, there's a good chance somebody's going to call within a couple hours and want to see the property. Yeah. So you just got to be prepared.
Right, right. And then what happens when your seller has to decline a showing? How do you advise them about that?
I usually tell sellers that if they have to say no, they can say no, but not unless it's absolutely necessary, especially in today's market. If you want to sell your house, you need to be able to show it. And the more people you can get in there, their convenience is going to help the sale.
And the important thing, I think, if they absolutely cannot do it, is to give an alternative time. Well, I can't do it at 6, but would 6:30 work? Or,
right.
Whatever their time schedule allows.
Right.
Yeah, so many times we get a declined showing and no reason.
Right.
Then, next step is probably call the listing agent and say, what do we do here?
Right, right. So what do you think is the perfect block of time to set for showings, and how do you handle overlapping showings?
I have an opinion on this. For 24 years, I have done it like this. Say I'm going to show 4 houses. I'll call up and I'll set up the first house for 1 to 2, the second house from 1:15 to 2:15, the third house from 1:30 to 2:30, and the fourth house from 1:45 to 2:45. That gives me an hour to get to the house, get in, gives them a good 30 minutes to look around. We either know we like it or we don't, so maybe we'll pick up some time there. But I rarely run into an issue of not having enough time unless it's just absolutely the house.
Mhm.
Then maybe I need to call CSS and see if we can stay a little bit longer. Overlapping, I don't agree to at all. It drives me crazy. I no more get in the house and they're going good and we've seen the first floor and we're headed to the basement and I glance out the window and there's a realtor, 4 kids and 2 adults mingling in the driveway, waiting to get in. I think it ruins the whole atmosphere of showing that house. I think they're rushed and they feel it too. Or they're sticking, the other realtor might stick her head in the door, how much longer are you gonna be?
Right.
So I just do not put overlapping allowed on my listings. If they wanna call me and have an issue and need it to get in while somebody else is in that hour increment, fine, call me.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
I agree, the kind of 15-minute interval on scheduling showings seems to work, especially if they're in the same neighborhood area. If you have to head across town, maybe you have a 20-minute gap in between. One wonderful thing I think about a centralized showing service is you get a little bit behind, you get in your car to head to the next one, call the number and ask them to bump everything back 15 minutes.
Right.
And one phone call, 30 seconds later, it's done.
Right.
And that's pretty convenient. The overlapping showings, I agree that we never like it. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's nice when it's another agent you know, they're usually pretty welcome to say, hey, we'll go downstairs, you come upstairs.
Right.
Something like that. So just the best you can do to give everybody their privacy, I think, and do what we have to.
Right. And when it is, you just try to, at least I just try to make light of it.
Yeah.
And say, well, it's like an open house. Everybody's here together. We're just all looking at the house together, and just try to bring some levity into it so that your clients are not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel totally awkward
Rushed.
to be in there at the same time. But yeah, I like the 15 minutes because I feel like it almost takes that time to see a house, even if it's not the house for them.
Yeah.
To go through the whole thing. And then you're not early for the next one. If you do 30 minutes, sometimes I think if they're close together and they only spend 15 in the house, and then you're kind of at the next one going, well, we're not scheduled for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so.
Sometimes sellers don't get out of the house until right before.
Until the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wave at them in the driveway, I've met a lot of sellers that way, where I pull up, they're still there, I introduce myself, and, and sometimes they'll say, well, I just left the door open for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's say you have set appointments to show a buyer several homes. What should you do if you're delayed in getting to one of the homes during the appointed time? We've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but walk me through that.
Communication's key. Pick up the phone, call the listing agent, call CSS. Usually you can work it out pretty good.
I agree. CSS is our key. You can't always find the agent or you get voicemail, so CSS, they should have the roster of the people that they're calling and the seller's phone number, and hopefully it's a cell number that the seller can get the message.
Right. Yeah, I agree. You have to do that. We've all run into situations where it's, you're gonna be late. And CSS is a valuable tool. What happens if you've got a list like this, you drive up to the 4th house on the list and the buyer looks at the neighborhood or looks at the exterior of the home and they say, we're not even gonna go in. So what's your approach to that?
Kind of the same thing, but a couple options there. Pick up the phone, call the listing agent, hey, do I need to go in and turn off lights? Are there any other showings scheduled? Sometimes it gives you an opportunity to give that seller constructive criticism, some feedback that they want to hear. You can go ahead and go in and, they spent time getting the house ready to sell,
Right.
to show. So talk to the listing agent. They say, yeah, go in, turn off lights, give some feedback, then that gives a good opportunity for that agent and that seller to get feedback from somebody. But making the phone call, they might be down the street with their kids in the car, so they can come home pretty quick.
Right, yeah.
I agree. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. We saw each other and go in, at least you're registered in the lockbox. Leave your card, run around the house and look, and we discussed lights, whether to turn the lights on or leave the lights off. Candles, yes, I would blow the candles out. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anybody coming behind me or not, but if they're gone all day at work, turn the lights off, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
So at least they know we've been there.
Right, right. Yeah, I do the same thing. I try to go in and at least leave my card.
Yeah.
And if they've turned on lights, I'll turn them off, except for lamps.
Yeah.
I'm weird about lamps.
Mhm.
If they've turned on lamps, I like to leave lamps
I
on.
always like to make an effort to turn the lights off, but sometimes people leave lamps on.
And for me, that's just a personal preference for me, because I don't like walking into a dark house.
Yeah.
I like walking into a house where there's at least one light on. So that's just me. So I do the same thing. And sometimes the buyer may find something that in the house that they really do like when they really didn't like the outside. I mean, they have all been surprised, right?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you do have to see the property and you never know.
You never know. I mean, there was obviously something about it in the pictures that they liked enough that they wanted to go see it. So I always say, let's just go and let's just take a look. We don't have to stay long. So what do you think is the best reaction to there being a pet or an alarm system that was not disclosed in the showing instructions? My favorite.
Well, the alarm system, if it's going off, you gotta try to make a phone call.
Yeah.
To see what you need to do to disarm it. Probably postpone the showing until you can get it disarmed if it's going off on you. Pets, are they friendly? Big question.
They're friendly till they're not.
Yeah. Just proceed with caution, I guess.
My 2 inches of pets that I remember the most were 2 snakes, this big, in tanks. 2 different houses. One was my own listing, and the little jet pilot guy who came back to live in the house after we listed it when he was on leave didn't tell me he had a pet snake.
Oh, wow.
And I showed the house, and I came around that corner and I saw that tank and that snake, and I just backed away and I said, I am so sorry, I had no idea. And of course I called him as soon as we left and said, you gotta put that somewhere.
Like in another house.
Yeah, somewhere else. So if it's a friendly dog, put him in the laundry room while you're there. If he jumps on you, or you got small kids with you, or if it's not a friendly dog, I don't know.
Reschedule.
Yeah,
maybe?
reschedule.
Yeah.
And let them know
Yeah.
that you couldn't show because of the pet.
Right. Oh man, I hope I never see a snake in a house.
Oh,
That would be a quick exit.
it was for me. I said, I'll wait in the yard, you go ahead.
So we have all heard stories of buyers that go in at a showing and they want to see how easy the wallpaper would be to peel off the wall, or they want to know if there's wood floors under that carpet, or their children start, touching things that they shouldn't be touching, or maybe, rummaging through the cabinets in the pantry. And just, how do you counsel your buyers when it comes to showing etiquette? What do you say to them before you go out to kind of prep them for what you're going to do? Because as you know, there are many homes that have audio or video devices that are recording everything that goes on in the home. So what's your best advice to buyers?
Just that, counsel them and have that conversation with them. And just let them know that this isn't your house yet. Somebody else lives here, if they do, or somebody else owns the property, and the golden rule, you know, do you want somebody to go to your house and do that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I kinda like having that conversation when you walk in the front door, in case there is audio or video. Then
You're on tape saying
then they hear you,
Yeah.
you know, giving that advice to your clients, and people usually take it pretty well.
Mhm.
And if they have children, you know, sometimes you gotta play babysitter a little bit.
Yeah,
You know, they need to look at the house, you can watch the children.
right, yeah,
And a good time to reiterate that to the children is when you're going into the lockbox, they think that's a magic item. And so when I'm bending down and getting that key, I say, remember, you know, this is not our house and we're here to look at this pretty place, but we can't touch, that's the rule.
right,
And usually the kids are okay.
right, yeah.
If you have that conversation, they usually are
Yeah.
pretty receptive about it.
Mhm, mhm. I was showing a house one time and it was a vacant house and these buyers had kids and the kids always came on the showings and there was a mantle that was just propped up against the wall, nothing holding it. And one of the kids touched it and it fell onto the floor, and I was panicked. I was like, oh my gosh. And we put it back up, and I left, and it was an agent in my office, and I called him and I said, I am so sorry. And he said, it's happened before, don't worry about it. But
Once again, making that phone call.
making that phone call, communication, and, you know, holding your hand up when you do something right away,
Yeah.
and owning it, because, again, golden rule.
Mhm.
We talked about lights and candles and what to do in those circumstances, but, you know, what do you think is the importance of leaving your card when you are showing? Because I personally have forgotten to do that.
I try to keep a pocket full of them, because I tend to put my hands in my pockets while we're walking around to remind me. But I think that is all the seller has to know you've been there.
Yes.
And if it's not there, they'll call their agent and say, did they come? And that's pretty embarrassing to have to say, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, forgot to
Yeah.
leave a card. But
Yeah.
they just want to know you've been there.
Right.
And what's your feedback?
Right.
Yeah, I think to know somebody was there when they were scheduled, so they know they went through all that work and left the house for good reason.
Yes.
Exactly.
And yeah, you've had those listings where people don't leave cards, and maybe you forget to put that in the showing instructions, but that seller calls.
Right.
Did they even show there's not a card?
Right.
So that's pretty important.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's say that you are at a showing and you notice something that could be a potential concern or an issue. You know, there's a door open, there's a window broken, there's a leaky something or other. How do you handle that?
Pick up the phone, let them know right away. I've been walking down the basement stairs and realized there was 3 foot of water in the basement.
We've done the same thing.
Oh, yeah, and
Ruined
you
your
gotta
shoes, didn't know it's dark.
call that listing agent real quick
Yeah,
and leave a message. If you don't get through, send them a text,
Yeah.
because you know they might be out of town for the weekend.
right. Yeah, yeah. And so when you're leaving your feedback, how serious and how honest are you in that feedback, knowing that it could be forwarded on to the seller? And, I mean, we've all been in this situation.
Well, I always thank them for giving us the time to see their lovely home. And if it's not the right home, then I just usually say, this wasn't the right home for them that met all their needs, but we sure do appreciate you letting us show it, and
Right.
I'll remember it.
I think it's important to be as constructive as you can, because they're looking at that as a tool. I think we get 60 to 65% feedback from showings, and I always tell my sellers the feedback we want's an offer, but if not, you know, is there something we can do to improve the property and maybe help it sell? So constructive feedback is important. It might not always be what they want to hear, but
Right,
it might help get the house sold.
right,
And sometimes it might be easier hearing it from us, a third party, than
Very much so.
you, the listing agent.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I really wanted you to change the carpet, but.
Right, and I think that's the key there, is that it can help us in sometimes having those difficult discussions with our sellers about things that might need to be done. And if the feedback is consistently, you know, price too high for the house, you know, for the condition, that's a great way to approach your seller about a price reduction. You know, the house has been shown 10 times, 9 out of 10 felt it was priced too high.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not just me, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to give them that same feedback from somebody else.
It's nice to get that feedback, right. Yeah, I think it can be used as tools in talking with our sellers about different things. But it's very frustrating that some agents don't provide it. I've called other agents to track down feedback.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you can't rely on them to hit reply to the email. You gotta send a text or make a phone call.
Right.
Follow up if they don't.
Right, yeah.
You show 20 houses in, you know, an afternoon, you go home that night and you realize you gotta sit down and
Do 20 feedbacks.
do 20 feedbacks. And
Yeah.
it's important though.
It is.
It is.
I agree. Again, it's one of the things that centralized showing it's a helpful tool.
Very much.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions that I have, but, you know, would either of you like to share anything else about?
Just repeat that, you know, a lot of the answers we had to questions kind of went back to the golden rule.
Exactly.
You know, think about if it's your house or your clients and do the right thing.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for giving us some of your time today and sharing some of your wisdom with us, and we appreciate it so much. And we appreciate the Drury Plaza Broadview for allowing us to,
Yeah, beautiful place.
I know,
Absolutely.
to use their space today. So thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you.